My past always trying to pull me back, but the growth inside makes me stronger than it. My past don't make me weaker, it makes me stronger, pushes me forward. Just look at the miles I've run, won't let them come undone. I work too hard, I'll keep on walking, keep on fighting, 'cause I'll win. I'm gonna win. No more questions, no more doubts. I know what I gotta do. I won't let nothing hold me down. The prize is what I'm headed to. That's why I ain't looking back. Look good, look good. I ain't going back. Look good.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is your boy, Brother Brady. I have my esteemed co-host, Miss Reverend Nikki.
Hey, everybody. What's up?
And also the good brother, the leader of this all, Pastor Sean Ellison Jones. You got to say all three names together. So, brother, Pastor Sean Ellison Jones.
What's going on, family? It automatically just gets in the name like that. But what's going on, family? How's everybody tonight?
Man, it flows well. It flows well. Everyone, welcome to once again another episode of the Kingdom Podcast, powered by iRock of the YYA NBC. Guys, I'm glad that we are back together once again for another episode. I'm also got to have my dear sister Nikki on the episode. We've been missing you on the other ones, but we have you here. How you been?
I'm good. I've been traveling, enjoying the summer. So I'm so glad to be back with my iRock family. I missed y'all. I know y'all been holding it down. We are the Generic Breakfast Club. That's Brady, Charlemagne Brady. I'm Nikki Yee and DJ
Nikki.
Ellie. That's who we are. So I'm glad to be back. I'm very glad to be back with you all.
So we got Nikki E, Sean the God, and
not the God. That's little G. The little.
And my
G.
DJ Brady, DJ
Brady.
DJ Brady. There you go.
All right. The university. I just had to put that out there. DJ Envy is a graduate of Hampton University. Check it.
We already getting started tonight, right?
I ain't said what we about to talk about. Well, we gonna talk. Well, let's get to the conversation then. Sure, you want to start it up like that? As you can see, we have been having a very colorful debate over. It seems like a lifelong conversation of our wonderful, illustrious HBCUs, historically Black college universities, and their counterparts, the predominantly white institutions or PWIs. Even as recent as the past couple months, we had things come up in social media that have just set this conversation ablaze. Once again, like every fall, right before homecoming, we got a conversation about HBCUs and PWIs. Somebody at a white school does something, and and we got to talk about it. So on tonight, everyone, we have some very, very special guests we're bringing in to the Kingdom Podcast with us tonight. So we have Miss Maya, DJ, and Robin. They are all recent grads of HBCUs and PWIs. So DJ, Robin, Maya, welcome to the Kingdom Podcast. How y'all doing?
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
What's going on?
Welcome. We're so glad to have you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks for the invite.
Yep. I appreciate the invite for real.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have some fun tonight. So we know you guys. We had you guys grow up underneath us. We know y'all. We love y'all. But we wanted to tell the people out in the kingdom who you guys are. So I want to start off with Miss Maya.
Yes, I am Maya Esters. I am originally from New York. I actually attend Pastor Sean Ellison Jones Church, Star of Bethlehem. in Austin, New York. And freshman year, I started off at LaSalle University in Philadelphia, which is a PWI. Then I transferred to Bowie State University, and I just graduated in May from Bowie State. So, yes.
Come on with the black.
Came down 95 to the DMV. Okay.
So if I'm really DJ Brady, I'm gonna get me a sound card with the gunshots and the like studio applies and all that stuff. So we're gonna take it up one notch. So the next one I want to tell us who they are is the one and only my young bruh, the Reverend DJ Derek Walter Jr.
What's up, everybody? I'm Derek Walter Jr. I'm from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and I attend the Fairview Missionary Baptist Church, where the Reverend Dr. John A. Reed Jr. is my pastor, and it's also where I serve as the youth pastor. I'm a recent grad from Oklahoma Christian University, and I'm now pursuing my master's of divinity there. So, yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and transfer you on to Virginia Union for the rest of the there.
Wow.
So
That's what's up, D. That's what's up, DJ. Congrats, man.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm gonna step back. Go ahead. We're glad to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And last but not least, anybody know in Iraq should know this young lady by now. The one and only Miss Robin Sellers.
Greetings, everyone. I am Minister Robin Alyssa Sellers. I currently live in Nashville, but I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. I am also a recent graduate from the illustrious Tennessee State University here in Nashville. I am a youth pastor here at the St. Luke Primitive Baptist Church.
Welcome.
Welcome. All these recent grads. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Congratulations to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And at the end of the day, that's all the thing that matters. Do you become a Black graduate? That paper is still the same piece of paper no matter where you went. Now I'm saying all that, out of my good mind right now, but I'm at the flip all that to be messy. So that being said,
hold on, Barry. Can you say where you work also and what school you went to? I don't think we did we do that?
Oh yeah, I didn't shout myself out. Okay. Well, like I said, you guys know me as Brother Brady. I too attended a PWI myself. I originally started out at the University of Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner. I transferred to finish at Oklahoma Christian University alongside my young brother, Reverend DJ. I actually work for the University of Oklahoma, so I got to watch some of my mouth because they pay me. So, so most of my perspective comes from the PWI view, but almost everybody else besides me and DJ have a primarily HBCU view. So that's where I want to get into the very first point in our conversation tonight. Since we have such a wide variety of collegiate experiences, can you guys kind of go through and describe your own personal college experience? Just how things went from your first day on campus through as many homecomings as you were a part of, how your dorm life was, when you got your financial aid refund check, all the way until you finally walked across the stage of graduation.
Because refund checks at HBCUs take a long time, so you're even started. Oh, why?
You tried it already, right? You already tried.
This is so tragic. I worked in financial aid, and I was like, "Why y'all take so long?" But I don't know. I worked at white schools, so so actually, I want to start out this part with Robin. Robin, kind of describe how your collegiate experience was being at Tennessee State.
I loved it. If I had to go back and do it again, I would do it all over again. Of course, there were many mistakes that were made, but you're young. I entered school when I was 17. So even then, growing, it being a nurturing university, I loved it, honestly, from the first moment I walked on campus to even in my senior year when things were happening with my father and his health, my health, just knowing that my professors, my advisors, I had a family and people who were going to work with me to help me succeed and to walk across the stage. It really was nothing like it, honestly.
Nice, nice, nice. Who are some of your notable alums from TSU?
Oprah.
Uh,
That was
Mic
mic
drop.
drop.
Mic drop. Literally.
Mhm.
Like, nothing to be said.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I did not know that Oprah went to TSU. I did not know that.
I knew that.
nothing else to say, right? Oprah.
That's
I mean, yeah,
podcast. No.
that's pretty big. That's pretty big.
It's good.
Now I want to go over to DJ. We went to the same school, different time periods. But to us, OC is OC. Kind of describe your collegiate experience.
It's been an experience, but good nonetheless. I'll say that. But I mean, from the student athlete's perspective, tuition's paid for, so I didn't have to worry about buying any books or anything. But like I remember freshman year, I was kind of different from my teammates because they were just always worried about basketball. And, I know that I grew up, learning that it's more to life than just the sport that you're playing. So, I was always trying to be active in something. I remember I don't know if you remember like having like the little freshman fanfare, Brady, but I was in that. They put a little wig on me. I was, Troy Bolton, whatever, I was just getting myself active, out there so they can see that I'm more than just an athlete, on campus and stuff like that. And so that was cool. But they kind of looked at me as just an athlete, wasn't until I started preaching until they started looking at me for more stuff as far as spiritually and being able to, speak in chapels and stuff like that, lead a chapel and different things. But OC has been really cool. I don't regret, committing there for basketball because it's been a good, I've, made different connections with the good white people. That's what I like to call them, with the good white people. I made the right connections, but it's been a good journey nonetheless.
Nice. And I'll have to kind of somewhat echo some of that, just from my personal experience. That the good ones, were good. But I'm not gonna act like there wasn't the bad ones.
Oh yeah. Dealt with that. Yeah, I've dealt with that. Yeah.
Well, when y'all say the bad, you're talking about racism, or what do y'all?
Because we didn't deal with racism at Hampton University, so
Yeah, racism.
Go ahead, DJ, go ahead.
Racism, microaggressions, all of that. I remember just one instance, one of my professors, he was laughing at me because I had a brush. And this is when I was getting my waves or whatever, I had a brush. And so like in front of the class, he was just like, Derek, it's just kind of funny because I see you. He was like, I see you have a comb in your hand. And that was the first riff. I was like, it's not a comb, it's a brush. He's like, I see you have a comb in your hand. He's like, but you don't have any hair. And so like, students started laughing. So he saw my reaction, like he saw my face like kind of change, like, and plus I was already going through something at that time. I'm like, listen, that was the wrong thing to say, but I kept it holy. I kept it Christian. I didn't retaliate. I was like, sir, it's not a comb, it's a brush. I was like, but I do have hair on top of my head. And so he pulled me back after class and like, told me he didn't mean no harm. But that's the thing, what some of the stuff that they say, they don't realize what they saying can be racist, can be, very microaggressive until you really tell them or react to it. And so that's just some stuff I've had to, deal with. I won't get into it all, but it's definitely been more times where I've had to check some people, like, to make sure that they know, like, no, I'm not one of them ones. So
it is definitely something you have to learn being at a PWI. It's like you have to be confident who you are and then set yourself and set your foot down too. But lastly, I want to get to you, Maya. You had a perspective of being at both. So, tell us a little bit about how that went for you.
It was very, very different. Big change. I definitely agree with what Robin said. I really wish I started off at a HBCU, but things happen. I love the people that I met at LaSalle, but when I went to Bowie, I really felt at home. I felt comfortable. I felt calm, and I knew that was the place that I was supposed to graduate from. I was supposed to be there from the beginning. Down from the professors down to like the caf lunch ladies, the cafeteria ladies. Everybody was just family there. So I loved it. I wish I would have stayed there longer. But yeah, loved it.
Okay, well, I'm team HBCU all day. And so I can echo the sentiments of just having that family experience. But can you all tell us your perception of the other school? So if you went to a HBCU, what are your thoughts about PWI and vice versa? You went to PWI. What are your thoughts about those who attend HBCUs or about the culture of the school in general? We'll start with you, Ms. Robin, Reverend Robin, because we're gonna put a handle on your name. Your name is Reverend Robin.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. So if you're familiar with Nashville, it's a lot of colleges here. You have Fisk University, Vanderbilt University. You have Belmont, Lipscomb, which are other than Fisk, other than ABC, which y'all are probably familiar with. American Baptist College, Tennessee State University, and Fisk. All the other schools around us that are in close proximity are predominantly white institutions. So not saying that I've had the experience. However, I have gone down the street a couple times, or even Middle Tennessee State University, which is roughly approximately, give or take, 45 minutes. I've been down the street and they've been up the street to us as well. To give a perspective, the first thing that really comes to mind would just be like, what's the word? Not fitting in, not apart, not together. This is just like my perspective of standing out in not in an uncomfortable way, I guess you could say.
Okay, thank you. Reverend DJ, what about you?
I would say my perspective of the other side is just because we have one HBCU here in Oklahoma, which is Langston University, LU, yep. And so I love Langston. Every time I go there, I feel that sense of family, sense of being with my people, and I need that every once in a while because I need I've always wanted to have that HBCU experience just to just to see how it is, just being there. And so from the outside looking in, it looks fun. It looks like a great time. And then also Langston does have some problems. And they, as far as I know I hear a lot of people talking about, they financial aid situations, talk about housing situations, just different stuff. And, it's not, and like, of course I'm not going to bash, HBCU, but, it's just, they have to deal with some stuff that necessarily I didn't have to deal with at the PWI, where, as the PWI has some money, in some different areas or, making smart choices with their money and for different situations. I can see where the HBCU here in Oklahoma is not. And so that's just outside. Like I said, it looks like a great time and all that, but it's just, that is it's just a big deal down. I know at Langston, but I visited some other HBCUs. I visited Jackson State. Jackson State looks wonderful. I'd really like to, see what Jackson State talking about. And so, but that's that's how I see it looking in, or outside looking in.
I want to get to you, Maya, but DJ, you bring up an interesting point about the financial piece, about the reality is, predominantly white institutions do typically have more money than HBCUs.
Mhm.
So maybe can we, Maya, I don't know if you want to speak on that, or if somebody else wants to speak on, why you think that is, or, historically, or why that's a challenge for a lot of our schools.
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out to this day, for real. It's unfortunate. Yeah, if anybody else was thinking, I don't know really.
If I can just chime in real quick, when you look at alumni and endowments and alumni gifts and giving, when you have predominantly white institutions that have had longer years of experience and their alumni have not been disenfranchised, then they're able to give more. So you have major donors and boosters who are able to give to football teams or athletic programs or whatever it might be. Where in historically black college universities, we're now, just because of the people, now just starting to get a leg up where we have more than just the Oprahs, or we have those who are sending money like crazy now to Jackson State. And I'm not hating on it at all. Where you have students and alum who are able now to say, I can give back because student loans have not wiped out everything I have and want to get back.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to work, have to really continue to work on, as alum, particularly of HBCUs, as I am a double alum of Virginia Union, of making sure that we support our institution, not just going to homecoming and kicking it, on the yard, but actually putting our money where our mouth is, in recruitment and all that. Institutions can have the endowment so that they don't have housing issues and deferred maintenance and all the other crazy that goes along with it. So, kind of answer the question about the money and the resources, that's probably for me the major disparity. I'll say this, I'll be done. My freshman year at Virginia Union, Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU, is right down the street. And I found myself, because Virginia Union library closed like at around 11 or 11 o'clock. If I was a night owl and wanted to study, I found myself at VCU in their library just studying because of the resources that my school couldn't keep the library open 24 hours, And so those small things, but our major things, can be different in the life of, students in their experiences with the different universities.
And I'll speak from my experience literally working in financial aid. Now this was financial aid at a community college, which was by numbers predominantly white, but the people that were more consistently in my office were minority students. So my experience was more along those lines. When you look at the demographics that make up a PWI and HBCU, and you flip that to like a financial aid, a student finance perspective, a higher percentage of HBCU students are receiving federal student aid than at PWIs. With that being said, if PWIs by their demographics are, let's say, predominantly white, and let's say 60% of them may receive some federal aid, but the other 40% are just, let's say, pay out of pocket. Well, that's 40% guaranteed tuition dollars going to the school. And let's say you flip that to HBCU, where there might be about 20 or so percent that are paid out of pocket. Well, that's only 20% of tuition dollars at enrollment that's going towards the school. So literally from the entrance through admissions and financial aid process, we have a money issue. We have a money disparity issue. Off top, more money is going in from the front door at a PWI by the type of students that they have, just through socioeconomics and history and racism in America, then what actually goes to an HBCU. Because you guys, we're talking about, the financial aid process being really long. It's really long, and this is, I was kind of clowning, but I understand why, because I work for financial aid. It's long because 80% of your student body receiving financial aid, that's a lot of people. The processing, you got to process all them students. And yeah, you're not going to really see that money till October, because I've gone through 80% of the student body to actually get the money y'all process and stuff. So, and that process has to be strenuous because only about 20% are paying up front or out of pocket. So we see these financial disparities literally from the front door of students going into the school. And then, Pastor Sana touched on it, as far as like when you actually leave the school, who are the ones who are giving back. We know that, by the wealth gap, that Black graduates usually make less than white graduates. So if we're making less, we're going into fields that might not just be immediately financially prosperous for us. I'm not giving my school money right now. Hit me up at the 10-year anniversary. That's when I'll start cutting you a check. As with PWI graduates, those their return on that investment back to an institution, it comes a lot quicker and faster. So yeah, we have a huge disparity with money amongst the two types of schools. Not really blaming on the school, but just the makeup of how the schools kind of go, and that's more of an effect of America than it is on any one of the schools itself.
Hold on, Brady, can I say this real quick? I've been HBCU supporter all my life. I have never until this day heard it, my financial aid said the way you shared it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. If we had heard that in school, I may not have dogged the financial aid office as bad as we do, because it makes a big difference now where it's like, why can't I get my check? Versus everybody on my floor and everybody at my dorm is looking for a check as well. And so, I think that's a great way of sharing it. And, I got friends who work in financial aid. They never said that before, but I think when you said it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I've never heard it like that either. And you bring up a lot of points right there, which goes back to systemic racism, which is why schools, don't have the money that other schools do. I'm in Virginia, like Tennessee, there are HBCUs everywhere. And for every HBCU, there is a PWI. And so, like in the city of Norfolk, for example, you have Norfolk State University, a school that I would never, ever, 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 ever support. But you have Norfolk State University, and you also have Old Dominion University. And when you look at the two campuses, these are both public schools. They're both public schools, but Old Dominion gets so much money and so much support, and so you see these disparities even amongst, you can have a city with two different schools in the city, and you see how one school has money and one school doesn't. Virginia Union and VCU, again, are a huge example. VCU owns the city of Richmond, and then you got little teeny Virginia Union over here, trying to make it.
Why we gotta be a little bit teeny? We've given the city half the property that we could have out of the goodness of our heart. We wish we had got it back now, but we did over here.
I mean, I'm an alum of Virginia Union too, but I'm first an alum of Hampton. But yeah, and so even I think you have public HBCUs and you have private HBCUs, and so there's all of these different disparities. So like, I think the private HBCUs are Hampton, Howard, Morehouse, Spelman, Tuskegee,
Virginia Union, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say this, if I can say this. I was reading an article today. I just pulled it up from the Washington Post. But Florida A&M students are actually suing the state of Florida because they're saying that the University of Florida actually received a larger appropriation of funds per student than FAMU. And so I think even for state institutions that are HBCUs, that disparity is real, where you don't have alum who have the ear of governors and senators to make sure that when you talk about appropriating funds, it goes that way. So there's a lot going on with the lack of resources. But I'll say this, and then we got to transition. The lack of any financial resources versus the resources that you get of feeling a part, being instilled in your culture, who you are as a person. The professors who make sure you turn your paper in on time and you are in class and actually care about you. While we didn't have the swimming pool on the campus.
Well, we did have a pool and horse and a sailing team.
We didn't have George Bush speaking at our graduation. So, the fact that it equals out, we all can't have a school by the sea, but it still equals out in some way. I think the love you feel and the camaraderie that you say, like those who were on here kept saying, it was a family, not just a matriculation experience, for academic gain.
And so I'm going to ask this question, and this will go to our recent grads. In your best words, describe what it is about the culture that did it for you. Like, what is it about the culture of an HBCU that was just like, this is where I need to be? We talked family, but I want to talk like the overall student life culture. So like on campus, how was that feel?
Well, sorry, I'll go. My high school was predominantly white, so, and going to LaSalle predominantly white. So going to HBCU, I definitely experienced Black culture before, but it was definitely different. And yeah, I trying to think of more. Sorry, I went blank.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you this question then? So going to a predominantly white high school, and we don't always talk about like the high schools, because there are tons of students from HBCUs and with the white schools, like white high schools, and vice versa. But so going from a predominantly white high school, so I'm assuming that growing up neighborhood wise, it was kind of like that through K through 12.
Yeah.
What was it about? And you went to a PWI, but what was it like that finally made you like, hey, my experience, at least through education, needs to switch to an HBCU?
Definitely when I started taking the psychology major classes, the discussions were very different from being at a PWI than being at a HBCU. In psychology, you're talking about mental health, disparities, and everything. So those discussions are very different from being at HBCU than being at a PWI, and you learn a lot of different things. My focus is big on like autism and learning disabilities. So learning about those disparities in the Black community was it made me excited. It made me excited for my future career. And I learned new things that again, I wouldn't have learned at a PWI that the professor would never touch on. We would never talk about it because they just simply don't care about it. So that definitely made me like, okay, I definitely belong here. Really to see you.
And Robin, what about you?
You're talking about the culture of
Yes.
So I came from a school where my high school in Alabama, all of the students were predominantly African American. However, our administration at the time were white. And so it really made me feel a certain kind of way because we could not embrace our culture. We could not embrace who we were. We were being in high school at the time that it was 2015, 2016. We all know there was a lot going on with police brutality during that time. Half the school got put out because a girl got class 3 for having class 3 getting since alternative school, got class 3 for having on a Black Lives Matter shirt.
Wow.
And so going there, of course, my mother went to the University of Alabama. I said I never wanted to go to a big, predominantly white institution for things of that nature. I wanted to embrace my culture. I wanted to learn about who I am, why I am the way I am, and knowing where I come from, knowing what the history is, but then also knowing why I cannot do certain things. When I first got to TSU my freshman year, I'll never forget, they had signs up. You can't walk outside with your do-rag on. You can't walk outside with your do-rag on, with no bonnet on, and you can't step outside with your pajamas on. I saw a lot of girls who were getting frustrated with this. Why can I not step outside, be comfortable? Number one, you never know who you're going to encounter on that day. We had a lot of people just randomly coming to the institution, random celebrities. I remember K. Michelle came. I was working at the desk. It was beautiful. But we had random people coming to campus wanting to see the institution, and you never know who you'll encounter. You have to always be prepared. On top of that, they also taught us that being in the skin that you're in, you're automatically going to get judged before you even open your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. If we're being realistically, they're honestly going to judge you if they look at your resume and you have a very unique name. But I wouldn't learn those things if I went to a predominantly white institution. They're not going to teach you those things. So the culture, knowing who I am, knowing where I come from, but then also knowing I got to work 2 times, 10 times, 100 times harder because I am an African American female. So.
Gotcha. No, I definitely agree with your point, and I want to get to DJ. So since DJ, you've been at the PWI, so I'm gonna speak for you. I know you didn't go to OC for the culture, so
Nah.
So, but with that being said, this speaking a little bit for you. You were heavily involved with the BSA, and really became a really strong, visible Black voice on campus for a lot of things that were going on in the past couple of years. How would you say that? How did it feel being Black in a white space for the past 4 or 5 years with everything that has gone on? Since we can't really talk about the culture that you really, I mean, you can talk about the culture that was the PWI, or it still is the PWI, but kind of tell about how you felt as a Black man who was socially conscious to Black America and the things that go against it, while being in a completely conservative Christian white space.
Yeah. So I went to Midwest City High School, so it was a good mixture of both African Americans and white people. So of course, no, I didn't go to OC for the culture. I went, for basketball. And at that time, they were the only school that had offered me when I committed. So I was just like, they the first school to offer me, they believe in me, and stuff like that. The coaches love me, so I'm gonna go ahead and go. So, and I've dealt with, stuff with basketball, but I'm not gonna get into all of that. But as far as me starting off, being active on campus, I remember that I didn't want to necessarily go there to be, I wasn't going there to, do anything campus wise. It just kind of happened because of my personality. Like I was really there. Like I knew what I wanted to do out, after high school. Like I wanted to go hoop and I wanted to go, hoop, go play basketball overseas somewhere or go pro, and that's what my mom was set on. But, I'm not going to preach, God has other plans, and so, once I started just getting involved in our BSU and our diversity equity and inclusion student task force, they needed somebody really to kind of just be a voice, and they knew that I wasn't afraid to speak. So that's how that kind of got started. Like I didn't necessarily ask; they kind of seeked me and help and wanted me to be involved and stuff like that. So I got involved, and really I loved it, from the jump, from my sophomore year when I first started. I loved, being in the positions I was to make OC feel comfortable for us as Black students. That was just my goal. Like I want to make sure that everybody who is African American, and not just African American, but who are, the minorities that come to OC, make sure that they know that they have some people around who loves them, who cares for them, and that just to make OC comfortable, because the culture there is set for the white people. It's set for white people. You got different clubs and organizations and stuff like that that's just for them, that really we can't really relate to. They go around talking about Sing Spring, which is a big thing that they do, and just different stuff that we as African Americans, like, we not getting into all of that. Like honestly, and that's just true. You looking at it like we're not doing that. It's just something we're not gonna do. And so it's been a challenge, but it's been good because I've had people who have came alongside of me, or who have been, who I've been alongside of, who has really helped push, and bring kind of some culture, some Black culture to OC. Since I tell everybody, they ask me how OC is, how many Black people is it there, and I tell them the Black population has grown on that campus since I've got there. Like every year, it's grown. And my frat brother, Gary Jones, he's the assistant dean of students. He does a great job of recruiting young Black men and women to come to that school, and he really does a great job of getting them there. And we do a great job of making sure that they want to stay there and pursue, their degree there. But yeah, it's been, as far as being Black on a white campus, though, it feels like that you have a target on your back every day, especially me being a Black male, an athlete, a preacher at a Church of Christ school. Every day it feels like somebody just watching you, and the truth is that they are. But I remember telling my parents, because they tell me that before I even went to the campus, and I was like, I've had a target on my back all my life. Shoot, I'm a Christian, and it's no different, but it's definitely, it's been a challenge, but it's been, like I said, it's been good. I wouldn't take back the experience at all, because I feel like it has gotten me ready for life after college. So,
and if I can piggyback what you're saying, DJ, I think that's much the argument people have versus PWIs versus HBCUs. Some people say that PWIs prepare you for the world if you are a minority, because the world is diverse versus the HBCU. I don't agree with that sentiment, but I understand where the argument comes from. Mm-hmm. I think HBCUs can prepare you for the world, because also those who are professors have been already in corporate or in other fields and can share with you the challenges so that you can overcome in a safe space to teach you how to navigate the world as well. It may be a little different than the PWI experience with that. But I do want to ask this. I'm not sure about the other ladies on the call in terms of your Greek life experience. As a member of a Greek little organization who was on a PWI versus I who pledged at Virginia Union. Now I forget what chapter of Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Mm-hmm. How was your experience? And as you traveled probably to other campuses, maybe even like Langston, how did you see your experience as a Black Greek on a PWI versus a Greek on a Black institution? Because one thing I do know for our Caucasian brothers and sisters, for their fraternities, once they pledge and graduate, there's normally not a lot of affiliation after that. The thing you do in college, and that's it. Versus, when you a Nuke, when you a Kappa, you a Nuke, you a Kappa. And expected to be involved after graduation versus just on campus. So can you share some thoughts? And if ladies, if you can chime in about what you experienced, what you saw from afar, if you're not Greek from that experience, that would also be a helpful perspective.
Yeah. So first of all, let me say that I'm a proud brother of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. 06 to the good brothers out there. But my experience, I actually pledged at a school that is about 5 to 10 minutes away from my school, from my campus. University of Central Oklahoma is where I pledged at. And so it was different. It was a challenge because I had to go back and forth from my school to there, for different things, for events and stuff like that. But it's a PWI as well. But I would say that, of course, the difference is, having people really being involved and invested in the Greek life. I saw, at UCO that there's some investment there for the D9 orgs, but it's not like going to HBCU and seeing how much, time, how much effort people really put into to be there for, the events, or, just to be there for the D9 orgs. And then like on my campus, of course, like there's no D9 life, but I did have an influence on a couple of my friends, and one of them actually ended up crossing this past spring. So now it's 2 of us at Oklahoma Christian who are alphas. And then I mentioned earlier that our assistant dean of students, Gary Jones, is alpha as well. So we have some representation there. But yeah, you know, I can't really, I wasn't at UCO all the time, you know, to really talk about how, you know, and I'm sure my brothers can really talk a bit more about what they saw on campus, because like I said, my time was more, I was more at OC than being over there at UCO. But I couldn't see the difference there as far as people investing their time and their efforts to being there for the D9 org and stuff like that. So
I'll go off of that as well. 14 years ago, I was the lone representative of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated.
Tell your story. Tell your story.
Christian University. Now, I much was like DJ. I did intake. I don't know what this pleasant stuff is. I did intake through through the University of Oklahoma, the Xi Delta chapter, and one thing that I definitely could always tell the difference was between my time spent on my PWI campuses with frat brothers of those campuses versus when I would visit with brothers on HBCUs. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I did get the "you're not quite like us." Your intake wasn't quite like ours. There has been kind of misperceptions on like things such as money. We talked about money earlier. My chapter down at the University of Oklahoma, the university, like DJ had explained earlier with UCO, gives money directly to the Greek organizations. So as where we could just call student life, ask for a check. My brothers, let's say at Langston University, the Beta Epsilon chapter, celebrating 75 years of BE this weekend at their homecoming. So South Langston, they would have to go win a step show, get 2,500, because their student life really didn't have the money funneling into the student organizations like that. Hey, y'all, we're gonna keep y'all on campus, but y'all go get your own check. That's where we would just go to the student life, be like, hey, we want to do this event. How much you need? So we would sometimes get certain comments made about that about those different dynamics just because of the different type of campus we're on. Now we're all Sigma, all blue, but because of where our chapters lie, we function differently. So like I think a lot of times like Black students at PWIs really had the same ambitions, I'll put it like this, as I would think most students on the HBCU's campus. Where those ambitions are put into place obviously have to be a little bit different. So I'll speak on it from like a OU homecoming standpoint. Not only would Black Greek organizations, for instance, have to compete against other Black Greek orgs, we would also have to compete against all the white orgs. And so, you know, while it's a lot just with the Black orgs, now you have a 300-member frat house compared to my 15-member chapter. And we're all competing for the same student award or different things like that. We would have our own internal community-based competitions, alphas versus sigmas versus kappa versus qs, and then we take that and also go battle against SIGEP, SAE, Tiki, all the white frats and organizations like that. So I think there's a lot of differences that that when Black students, particularly as we're talking about with Greek organizations, had to like get into at white schools. We often share the same type of ambitions. We want to be the best on campus, want to be known, want to attract, want to have the best parties, want to have the best step shows, and we do those on both campuses. But I think there's another element that you get at PWIs that aren't necessarily at HBCUs. So that's just like my kind of thoughts on on your question about the difference between Black Greekdom at PWIs versus Black Greekdom at HBCU.
Okay. No, I appreciate
Ladies.
Ladies. Yeah.
So I went to, again, the real HU, Hampton University, my home by the sea, DJ Envy, Booker T. Washington. Let's see. I mean, the list goes on and on, but I'll I'll keep moving. So I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Ooh. And I actually did not pledge at Hampton. I pledged alumni chapter because when I attempted to pledge in Hampton, there were 700 girls that showed up for Rush. And so a lot of people pledged afterwards.
700?
I'm sorry?
700?
It was pretty close. It was, I mean, if you try to pledge at an HBCU, especially a larger one, you're going to have a lot of people. You're going to have hundreds of women show up for at least Delta and AKA. No shade to the others. But at Hampton in particular, I can speak about Hampton, you would have hundreds that showed up for Delta, hundreds that showed up for AKA. And so that became problematic because you have, out of those 600 girls that show up for Rush, 350 of them, their mamas and grandmamas are Deltas. But you can only take 50 people. So, so that becomes a real thing. And I see the ladies nodding their heads in agreement that, so sometimes their aspirations college don't always come to pass, particularly, again, the sororities kind of function a little differently than the fraternities, but you would have hundreds that would show up. And I will say at some universities, you would have hundreds of girls. No, I'm not going to say that. Never mind.
So ladies, Robin and Maya, not asking you to share if you had a thought of which sorority you did or would have pledged, but just, is there any thought you want to share from a non-Greek about experiencing or witnessing Greek life on your campus? And if not, it's all good.
I'm good.
I appreciate it. I won't get none of y'all in trouble. We have words. Smart answer.
That's a very
So, guys, I want to take it up a notch, and this is something that's been kind of sitting on me for a little bit. The reason why we're having this conversation, because this conversation constantly comes up every single academic year, and it usually circles around something that happened on somebody's campus, and I want to get your guys' live recorded thoughts and opinion on this, and then we can expand with some commentary afterwards. I think we all have seen at this point the Cardinal Divas of SC, the University of Southern California dance line team that got the okay to dance in the stands during football games for USC. They dance in the traditional HBCU majorette dance style, and because of that, there was a lot of backlash they received for doing this style of dance, this traditional HBCU style of dance at a white institution, a very white institution such as USC. I want to start off with Robin. Robin, what are your thoughts on when you see like this specific example, but also the idea of things that are traditionally and fundamentally parts of HBCU culture and traditions, either performed or instilled or attempted to be instilled at PWIs?
So I'm not a fan of it. I'm going to go ahead and be honest. I did go sit down and watch their stance they were actually throwing in the stands. And I actually sat down and watched their interview because they were on the Jennifer Hudson show as well. My biggest issue with it, I believe, would be not that you went and you created a space, although there have been Black spaces created. for you out there. But my biggest thing was you never paid homage to where this came from. In the interview, the captain, all she said was this was started at a HBCU. No, ma'am, this was started by the Jackson State Singettes. Like this has way more culture to it than what you expound upon or expanded on, or what you may not even know. That was my biggest issue. I've talked to other people who are dancers. They found it offensive because, like I said, they're not paying homage to the dance itself. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, honestly.
Maya, how about you? Because I know you cheered both at LaSalle and, you did cheering all your life. So what's your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I agree with their interview, how they didn't pay homage to HBCUs. However, I don't know. I feel as though sometimes Black people, African Americans, we I don't know, gatekeep. Try to gatekeep too many things from our own Black people just because they go to a PWI. And I feel as though like they won't. I'm really
No, say it.
Please.
No. We need your thoughts. Please share. Seriously.
I don't know. I feel as though like they'll never be able to take our culture away. As much as they're doing it, but I feel as though we have what we have. And also, when they're doing majorette, it's not really. I mean, they are majorette dancers, but if you want to be like technical, they're not doing it with the band. They're not doing it with the band sound, so they're not really taking it. But I'm in the middle, kind of. I don't know. Yeah.
I think both your thoughts are both profound. I think because the idea about the gatekeeper thing, I think it's very interesting how you brought it up. One, I didn't get a chance to watch the interview from the Jeff Hudson show, but from what I could see, what I could learn, these are sisters who's at the PWI who wanted to create a space for themselves. So it's not really a misappropriation of culture because they're a part of the culture. Mm-hmm. They happen to be at a white institution, and so I see your perspective. I understand Robin saying, "Hey, if you're going to do it, know the history behind it. So much you do it well." And that's in a lot of areas that we just mimic stuff that we've seen and not know what's really behind it, so we can have a true appreciation and then pass down that shared history. So I think both curriculums are interesting because, again, there is this thing about, can this only be the PWI versus only be the HBCU? Versus if it's Black culture, if we're Black, wherever I am, wherever you are, you're able to create that culture, hopefully. And that's what appeared, I guess, these ladies are doing, where they just wanted to have a good time at the games and to dance and perform in that way.
I understand both perspectives. I think I'm kind of leaning a little bit towards Reverend Robin a little bit because they have Black girls showing out and doing it, but it's gonna be just give it a couple years. Have Cindy and not Maya. Sorry, Maya. But you guys.
Maya can do it. Maya can do it.
Sarah and Katie are gonna come to the tryout.
Not fair.
Karen and Becky. There you go. Karen and Becky gonna be the tryout.
They hated it, which is what parents do with everything. They say we don't have a culture, but then you want to take our culture. So I mean, I understand. Like I agree with Reverend Robin. Like if you're gonna do it, give homage to where it came from, because it is a part of our culture. It we're not gatekeepers of it, but it is a part of our culture. Mm-hmm. That's like when these white sororities trying to stop. What are you doing? Like, don't ever do that again with Anthony's version of trying to, party hop. Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do it, Karen. It's not for you.
So whenever I was
at, like do the naming, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't do that.
Not do
that. Right, boo. It's Katy Perry. Who else? Like, even have that Ariana Grande. You know, you can do something like that, but you can't do it to neck. Like talking outside of my neck. That's Black culture. Like no, that's HBCU
like
culture. You can't. Sorry, I can't.
So not gonna lie, whenever I was at Oklahoma Christian, my girlfriend at the time, she was part of one of their social clubs with Greek letters, but they're not Greeks. Whatever. And they perform in a show the DJ had brought up earlier called Spring Sing, and their main move, you might say, is a step. Well, this was I had already cross Sigma, so they knew that Brady, he's part of the black groups that like do all the stepping and stuff. Maybe he can teach us a step for our spring sing. So I was like,
you said to
no,
Bruce
I'm
Springsteen.
sorry. And I had to low key gatekeep it because it just didn't feel appropriate, literally in my spirit, to bring something that was so like that meant a lot to me as a member of Phi Beta Sigma and Divine Nine, stepping like Sigma step. That one thing we do really good, and I could imagine bringing that over to them with no type of reverence to where it came from, no homage to where it came from, and really no understanding of where it came from. They'll get on YouTube, Google they'll YouTube stepping, see us do our things, and like, oh, that looks cool. Much like the appropriation of Black culture in general. I just honestly couldn't be a supporter of that from where I was at while I was there. But I say that, but I'm actually on the side of let those girls dance at USC.
Now, I'll say this.
Go ahead, Robin.
We're not saying the girls can't dance. It's just know what you're doing and where it came from. Like, and then also, so I know personally, I can't speak for any other HBCU, but I know for us, the New Direction Gospel Choir and the Aristocratic Bands bring a lot of money and a lot of opportunities to Tennessee State University. Tennessee State University, the Aristocratic Band stands as the only HBCU band who has performed on the White House lawn for our only Black president. Wow. Starting something like that, not saying this is just me being a little biased, being a little nerd, but the band, the choir, our gospel choir, our majorettes, the sophisticated ladies, those are always going to bring money into the university. Yeah. So it's like when you start something, number one, you didn't even pay homage to where it came from, but then you're also taking opportunities from those HBCUs, I should say, because they got on the Jennifer Hudson show, like pretending like they just, they came up with this themselves.
Really? Now, I'll say this, Robin, based on what you're saying, the reason why I decided to go to HBCU, I decided when I was a little kid. I was from St. Louis, and there was a football Gateway Classic where HBCUs would come and play in areas that I have HBCUs. And I believe it was Howard University, and I want to say they played Morehouse that year. No. They played Mississippi Valley State. And I remember, now don't judge me, ladies, I'm not being sexist or being objectifying culture or objectifying women. But as a little kid, as like an 8-9-year-old young dude, seeing the dances and cheerleaders, I was like, I want to HBCU. I'm decided already right now. That's where I'm going. And while I joke at it, the idea of the culture of band, of majorettes, of dancing, of marching band, gospel choirs, Fifth Jubilees, all of that is a part of HBCU culture. So I'm with you saying if you're gonna do it, pay homage to it.
That's all.
Yeah. There's so many things, and I think you because it is sacred who we are and to our culture. You look at Fisk, they have this sticker that went around raising money for school. So I agree with you. Whereas you see Jefferson having a way on television, you got the whoop.
I think we lost Nicole for a second. Hopefully she'll hop back in. I want to transition, if I can, our conversation because our time is well spent. We are part of the National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, and so we cannot leave without talking about faith and college experience, or faith at a PWI versus faith at an HBCU. And so I want you all to just share, if you can, and as we'll start with Maya this time, how your faith was either flourished or grounded, how, in terms of what was your faith experience at an HBCU, and even I guess where it was LaSalle. The same thing for you, Robin, and for DJ as well.
Yeah. I think my faith definitely grew, especially my prayer life grew. I felt no judgment at a HBCU when it came to, going to church and, praising the Lord as well. I joined the Navigators, which is a Christian club. And it just felt, I felt comfortable. I felt like I was back home at my church, listening to, the church songs and everything. And, I felt like I had somebody that I can ask, like, hey, do you want to go to church on Sunday? When I was at a PWI, I had to call somebody from my home church that lived in Philadelphia. Like, I didn't have anybody on my campus that I, could go to church with, could, watch sermons with. So it definitely helped my prayer life and my faith grow being at a HBCU. So.
Well, DJ and Robin, you all are both ministers, so I'd really be curious to see your experience, and were you already preaching while you were on the college campus, and how all that goes. So, floor is yours. Why don't we go with DJ first?
Okay. So my experience would be, like I said earlier, coming in my freshman year, I was going to hoop. I wasn't looking to preach. Grew up in a preaching household. Pops is a preacher, mom's is a preacher, grandparents preachers, uncles, auntie, everybody preaching. So, and pastor, so I know I didn't want no parts of that. And so, but like I said, God had other plans. And so I answered the call the second semester of my freshman year.
Wow.
Answered it. I was 18 at the time. And so since that time, it's 3 going on 4 years now. Yeah, 3 going on 4. And my faith has really grown in a tremendous way. And and I've had ups and downs because it's not easy being a young preacher. I don't think really in any generation, but especially in this generation that we're in now, it hasn't been easy. And here in Oklahoma, I think Brady can really attest. I don't think there's really any other young preacher who's really, out there as much as I am, that I can really sit there and relate to and can have conversations with about what it is that we got going on. And I really have nobody to relate to. So it's been a struggle because of some stuff that I go through that I can't necessarily talk to my friends about because they won't understand it.
Can you hear me?
We got you, Nicole.
But it's been tough because, like I said, it's some stuff that I will go through that my friends won't really understand, and I can't really talk to them about. So I have to agree with Maya. My prayer life has skyrocketed so much, and my pastor always reminds me, son, to stay on your knees and stay in the word, and that's how you're gonna continue to make it. Because there's times where I can even talk to my parents. I call them my counselors because they give me more than anybody. But it's times where really I've spent on my knees crying to the Lord, like, Lord, okay, guide me during this season. What are you doing right now? Like, why am I still at Oklahoma Christian? What is like? What is your point? Like, what are you trying to do? Work out in my life? So, my faith has been grown. I have really loved this race, this journey that God has me on right now, and so Like I said, I wouldn't take the experience of being at Oklahoma Christian. You know, it's good that I'm at a Christian-based campus, although that our doctrine differs a little bit, and I've had challenges with that as well with professors, and we've had to I've had to have a couple of kumbaya meetings with with a couple of them because like it's just certain stuff I would but that was a challenge as well, but I wouldn't take the experience back for anything. So
Okay, cool. Robin?
I think just to piggyback off of what Derek and Maya both said, like it really did enhance my prayer life because at the end of the day, when you're in that dorm room by yourself, like for me, I'm 3 hours from home, so it was really just honestly being out there, having my first taste of freedom, actually knowing that it all lies on me. It's gonna test your faith, knowing that people who didn't come from different backgrounds. And then this is also around the time where I'm gonna just say it, people was moving real heavy in witchcraft with the tarot cards and the crystals and the all of that stuff. It's really gonna test your faith. Like it's gonna test you and it's gonna push you to areas where you've never been. So honestly, it really did enhance my prayer life. I honestly do believe that before I did accept my call into the ministry, I accepted my call in 2020. During the pandemic, I was 19, about to be 20 years old. It was the summer, I'll never forget. But before that, I was very, very active in college ministry. There was a Redemption College ministry I was very, very active in, which pushed me to be who I am today, pushed me to go deeper in my prayer life, and not even just for me, but for the people around me. I'll never forget, there was a day, it was a Wednesday right before Bible study. It was maybe like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I was on campus, I was on the yard, and I'm just evangelizing, like speaking to the people. Hey, do you want to come to Bible study? We're going to have Bible study in a few hours in Holland Hall. You know, I would love for you to join. I feel like there's a word for you. You know, just evangelizing to the people, telling the people about Jesus. And there was a young man who I encountered. He stayed with me the whole entire day. He went to Bible study with me. I spoke with him the next day, and he said, you know, your spirit, what you told me, how you spoke to me, you really showed me that you cared, number one. But then he said, you just don't understand what I was going through. I was thinking, you know, you stressing about finals, like, oh, you know, God is good, God is able, he's going to make a way. He said, no, you don't understand. When you saw me, we were crossing paths, but I was about to go back to my dorm room and I commit suicide. And so it really just, it taught me, if anything, that I had to take myself out of the equation and expand my prayer life for the people around me and for the assignment that I was called to.
That's dope. Go ahead, Brady.
Yeah, Robin, that was awesome. I think when we look at our initial conversation of HBCU versus PWI, so we look at our faith in that same position. Like we have to be honest and say that, you know, with the communities that we're involved in between these two types of campuses, our faith can go in different directions. I remember at OC, I was there back in the time, 2007. I'll put the numbers out. 2007. So 2008, whenever Obama was first going into office, and I remember the chapel after the election. The young white man, prayed to close out, and in his prayer, he prayed that Obama and his family would become Christian.
Wow.
And that was their faith perspective on this campus. It was a political one, but much like ours is political, but very much a contrast. And it hit my faith a little bit, like to think that to be in a space where we're all trying to, you know, quote unquote, learn about God and grow in our faith and become better Christians, that the other ones don't have a faith that's quite like mine. So as I'm working on trying to grow my faith just for myself, I now have it to where it may collide and contrast and even get negative responses back from the majority of people that are around me. Like my faith experience at OC was a very difficult one, like much like DJ kind of had alluded to. I remember I had to say that we couldn't, that the instrumental worship was wrong on a test, even though I taught myself how to play the piano at church. And if I want to get that grade, that good grade, I got to say what it is because of the environment that I was in, being at the PWI campus. I think our faiths in our collegiate times and experiences between the two campuses has done a great job, and just for you guys, shaping us into who we are today as young Christians. So I love what each one of you guys said about how, for one, prayer, as with everything, was the main thing that was going to keep you guys going. I'll give my experience, and then John, and we can bring Nicole back in and wrap this thing up. When I was at OU, it was I joined the OU gospel choir because that was the thing that was closely related to like my experiences growing up in my old Baptist church in my hometown. The gospel choir on campus connected the Black community to one of the prominent Black churches in Oklahoma City, which is actually down the street from our church at Fairview. So it was my faith connection actually kept me connected to my Black community, because at the PWI I didn't really have too much of a community, and we were all just together. So our faith was also another main thing that kept us together as a community on that predominantly white campus. But I will always wonder, like, from an HBCU perspective, so Robin could probably give a quick comment on this, when most everyone is Black, and it's probably assumably most everyone comes from a similar religious background, or at least with religious understanding, like how that community goes in the HBCU perspective. For like I said, for PWIs, that the 5% of the PWI that's Black, that's all we got. So we're gonna hang tight. We're gonna go to church together. We're gonna party together. We're gonna play together, do all this stuff, and then we're done. But when you have a majority campus that will differ religiously, how is that for you? As far as like your experience seeing the different type of religious backgrounds and just mindsets across HBCU campus?
I think so. I was involved in the choir up until my junior year, the New Direction Gospel Choir. And honestly, because we all are African American doesn't mean that we all went to church. It's something that I've also realized, or we were brought up in the church. There are a lot of people that I also did have experience with that were extreme church hurt, because maybe a third of our population comes from Memphis, and Memphis is one of the like church capitals. So still being that though, with all that, it just really reminded me more of my faith and reminded me to be more consistent with Christ. Because whereas if I would go talk to my friends who were not in the choir, say if I was having a problem with my professor, okay, well, did you go to your advisor? Did you go to the dean? Did you go to the department head? Whereas in the choir, if I'm telling them about an issue, okay, well, did you pray about it? Reminding me of my faith, reminding me who I am, reminding me what to do or how to act when things come up to take me out. So.
Maya, how about you?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Same thing, reminding me of my faith. But also, like a lot of people at my school, I ran into a lot of Seventh-day Adventist people as well. I'm my link, but yeah, remind me of faith.
Well, I'll say this as we wrap up. I think what is really cool is that while there's a lot of differences when it comes to HBCUs, PWIs, when it comes to the student population and you all's faith, I'm glad to hear that it was your faith in God that was rooted and how you maybe emerged throughout your process. I think for lots of persons, including myself, is you learn. You don't have mom, you don't have dad, you don't have so and so with you. Do I really know God, and how do I really express and experience God, which happens on a college campus? And so, between grades and funding and drama and situations that are going on, it is your faith that needs to keep it rooted. And so, I think that while Brady, we have the differences of culture, of resources, we didn't even get on cat food, dorm life, and all the other stuff that regardless of where you have gone to school or where you attend, that it is your faith translates the campus. It translates the organization because the reality is that God is a God that loves diversity, regardless of your ethnicity. God loves you, and we all express God differently. But as long as we're still rooted in God, He's helped you all at least for what you all have shared make it through, and are recent graduates and are moving into career and life. And so, again, we are super excited for you all. You all are part of the iRock family. And so we're grateful to have you all as tonight as our host, as our guest. Brady, our host, end it up.
All right. So once again, like Pastor Son said, thank you guys so much for joining us on the Kingdom Podcast episode tonight. This was fun. I will say we were good, John. We were good, right? We didn't rough too much of many peppers. I'm not going to be
nothing controversial, and so I think it was a great conversation. Again, thank you guys for being our guests. Those who are watching, we appreciate you. We need you to help us out. I need you to like and heart the video. I need you to subscribe to the channels. That way, as we upload new podcasts every third Thursday that of the month, that you check us out and spread the word. The Kingdom Podcast, we're going higher and higher.
All right, so once again, guys, good evening. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast episode. Get in the comment section. Tell us what you think about the conversation. Add your points in. Shout out to HBCU. Shout out to Greek orgs. I want to see where we repping from. No gang signs. And everyone have a good evening. Peace.